Students, I welcome you again in this second session of the video series on functions in Python. In the previous lesson, we have studied about the basics of function. What is a definition? Why do we require function? And then we learned about how a function look like, and then how to call a function, because there are two different things in function. One is function definition, that is the body of the function. Another is to call that function, means the functionality through which we will use that body. If you have made a function, so you must use it somehow. So the functionality through which you use that function is called function call. So we have also discussed that there are two types of functions according to their function definition. One function will return something and another function will not return anything. Okay. So if a function is returning something, then you have to accept that return value somewhere. Somewhere means either in a variable or on the screen using print statement. And if the function is not returning anything in its body, you just call it. And how to call a function? By giving its name followed by a parenthesis, and in parenthesis you provide the value that it is working on. It may require some value or it may not require some value. So if it is requiring some value, you give the names of those values followed by comma, and if it is not requiring any value, you just give the name of the function followed by an empty parenthesis. Okay. So let's move forward and let's start focusing on the types of functions that are actually in Python. There are three types of functions in Python. Number one, that is built-in function, the functions that are already in Python. Okay, these are predefined functions and are always available for use. So when you download that Python software, the interpreter for it, it will come pre-installed. Okay, so they are available for use always. Okay, and you have worked with many of them in your previous class. Some basics were length function to get the length of any data type. Another was type function to get the data type of a variable. You can use type function. Then next was input function. To get some value from the user, you used input function. And another, can you name any other one? Print function that you have used to print something on the screen. So these all are built-in function. Built-in means already in the language. Okay. Second category is functions defined in the modules. These functions are defined in a particular module and can only be used when you import that corresponding module. For example, we have math module. You have studied about math module, random module, statistics module in class 11th. So the math module contains all the functions related to mathematics. Please remember the name MATH. Okay, math. That is not maths. Math module. So MATH, that is math. That math module contains all the functions like sine, cos, tan, and all the others you require in maths. So when you import that module in your program, then only you will be using that functionality of those sine, cos, tan functions. Okay, so these are called functions defined in the modules. And the third category is user defined function, the functions that will be defined by the programmer, by you, by us. We will write our own functions and we will use it. So those will be called our function, that is user defined function. Who is the user? You and we are the users. So we will define the function. Those will be called user defined function. Clear? I think all these three categories are clear to you. Now we come to how you should define a function. Okay, now we will be talking about that third category, that is user defined function. So how to define a function? Okay, so Why we require function? We require function to do a particular thing. Okay, and we write a program for this. You can write a program for adding two integers. You have written program to check a number for palindrome and to get the factorial of a number x to the power n, and many on. So many programs that you have already done in class 11th. So you write the programs to perform a particular task, and the function can be thought of as the key doers in the program. Till 11th you have just written the function programs without function. Okay, so the functions are the keys in a program. They are the main thing that perform the operations. So a function once defined can be called as many times as needed by using its name. So if you have defined a function called addition that adds two numbers, then you call it n number of times. When you require, just call its name, provided the value it requires, it will do the addition. Okay. Now we coming to how to define a function. A function in Python is defined in this format. What is the format? Please pay attention. You will use the def keyword. You have studied in the last video. Def keyword followed by a function name. The name should be as per the conventions. Then in the parenthesis you will provide parameters. There can be or cannot be some parameters. This bracket can be empty if the function is not requiring any value, or if it is requiring some value to perform action on it, then you will name those values here separated by comma. Then you will put a colon sign to mark the end of this header, function header, and to mark the beginning of the block. You must know that this square brackets represent optional things. If the things that are mentioned are optional, then those will be enclosed in square brackets. Now you give function docstring, that is called documentation string. Means what is the function made for. So if you have made this function for some special thing, then you can write that in triple quotes. And why we require it? So we require it if suppose we write a program this year, and after some 2-3 years we come back and just see our program, and if we have not written the description of function, then it will be hard for us to get the feeling why we made this function, what is the purpose. So if you write a docstring, then you can just see the docstring and you will come to know, or any other person who is seeing your program, your project, will come to know, okay, this function is for this particular thing. So you must write docstring. So it is recommended that you should write docstrings. Okay, so this is optional, that's why it is in square brackets. Then after this docstring you can write your body of the function, statement 1, statement 2, and many more. For example, a function to add two numbers. How you will write? Def, name of the function is sum, then you have made the brackets, and in brackets you have provided the value x comma y. These are the two values that we will be added. Then followed by colon sign. Okay, and the colon will mark the end of this, and after the colon sign you will write the main body of the function, that is a variable s is equal to x plus y. The values are being added, and we are returning the result, that is return statement followed by the value s. So this function is a function that is returning some value and also requiring some value. Let us have an example of another function that is not requiring any value and it is not returning any value as well. So that function, suppose let us give a name called greeting. So how you will write? Def, def, space greeting, the name of the function as per the naming rules, followed by empty brackets, because it is not taking any value, it is not requiring any value from you. So you can just put empty parenthesis followed by colon, that is required. When you put colon and press enter, you have to give indentation, that is 4 spaces. Then you just write the print good morning. So it will print the message for you in the screen. Okay, so these are the two examples how you write a function. Okay, One first example was in which we were requiring some values from the user and also returning some value to the user back. But in the second one, we neither required any value from user and nor we returned anything back. Okay. So you have seen the function contains, the first one that function contains is the function header. The first line of function definition that begins with keyword def and ends with a colon sign, and it has the name of the function and the parameter. So this is called the function header. Okay. Then we have parameters. The variables that are listed within the parenthesis are called parameters. Then we have function body, the intended line of codes, the block of statements beneath the function header that defines the action performed by the function, that is called body. The function body may or may not return a value. If a value is to be returned, return statement will be used. A return statement without any value is also used to return from the current function. Okay. If you have done enough and you want to go back, you just use simple return statement. Just write return and the function will go back from where it has been called. Okay. So it is also very useful many a times in your project where you have done the thing or you have encountered such a condition that you cannot move forward. So you can just write return and it will go back to the main program from where it came. Okay. So function at last contains indentation, the blank spaces in the beginning of the statement within a block. So all the statements within a block are at a same indentation level. Okay. So this was all about the function definition. The next thing, that is structure of Python program. In a Python program, generally all the function definitions are given at the top. That means at the beginning of the program you define all your functions that you are going to use. Suppose you are making a program for calculator, so you define the functions for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, square root, cube root, and so forth in the beginning of the program by following the norms that we have discussed earlier. Okay, so define, and after that you write the other lines that are not part of the functions. Okay, so those function definitions are followed by the statements which are not part of any function. So these lines, these statements that are not the part of any function are not indented at all. Okay, there is no spacing in those statements. So these statements are called top level statements. Why they are called top level statements? Because when the Python interpreter starts execution, it starts from those top level statements. Please keep it in mind and remember, the execution of the program starts from the top level statements. Okay, not from the function definition. Okay, so the execution starts from the top level statements, the statements that do not belong to any of the functions. So these top level statements are the part of main program. If you have studied C or C++, then you must be aware about that main function. So it is like the main function of Python. Internally, the Python has given a name to this, the group of top level statement, that is double underscore main double underscore. This double underscore is called dunder in short form. This is a naming convention that we generally follow, the Python programmers generally follow, because it is hard to pronounce double underscore again. So we just say dunder. So all those top level statements combined are called dunder main dunder. It is double underscore main double underscore. Okay. Python stores this name in a built-in variable called dunder name dunder. And how you will come to know that the name of this is dunder main dunder? You write print in brackets dunder name dunder. So it will print dunder main dunder. Are you getting the point? The name is double underscore main double underscore. Whose name it is? It is the name of all those statements that are the top level statement that do not belong to any function. The group is called double underscore main double underscore, and that name is stored in a variable which is called dunder name dunder. So if you write this command print in brackets dunder name dunder, the answer will be dunder main dunder. If you are not understanding, don't worry, we will be having a separate practical session on this, and you will be able to see how this naming and this dunder main dunder and dunder name dunder, what it is, you will come to know there. But you just understand the basic theoretical concept. Okay, so the structure of the Python program is clear to you? Great. Now we come to the flow of execution in a function call. It means that what will be the difference in execution of a program if we write it using function. Okay, suppose you have written the same program of calculator using that conventional approach. That means code line one after another without any block, without any indentation, just one after another. And the same program, the second user has written the same program using functions. One function for addition, one function for subtraction, and so many and so forth functions all around. So what will be the execution difference? In the first type, the lines will be executed one after another, but this will not be the case in the program having functions. Okay, so what will be the execution? A program using function will have some function definition at the beginning of the program. It's the rule. You have to write the definition at the beginning of the program, and followed by some top level instructions. What will be the top level instructions? It can be some input output statements and the call to the function, because if you do not have the call to the function, how you will use that functionality? So you use the functions through function call, and the function call are always in the top level statements. Okay, so we know that the function body is a block, and a block is executed in an execution frame. So this is a new thing for you, execution frame. Execution frame means a separate memory location for executing a particular block. Okay, if you are working in the top level statements, okay, then you will have a separate memory in RAM. When you call a function, you jump to a separate memory location in RAM. This is called execution frame, a separate frame for execution. For example, you have separate rooms in your house, one for study, one for prayer, one for sleeping, one for eating, okay, one for other things, for playing, a balcony. So everything is have a separate execution frame. Okay, in the prayer room you go and you worship your God. In the dining room you have food. Then in the sleeping, in the reading room you go with and study. So separate execution frames are also decided. Similarly, here also, whenever you call a function or you move to a block, you just go to a separate memory location and you work there and then come back. Okay, so what will be the execution frame? It will have the name of the function, it will have the values passed to the function, it will have some additional variables that are created during the execution of function, it will be having information about the next instruction to be executed, and some internal information. Okay, I know that you are not able to cope up with this concept, and we will discuss this concept in the practical portion. We will show you diagrammatically how the function jumps from one execution frame to another execution frame. Okay, don't worry, just for now just try to understand the basic theoretical concept, and we will deal with the practical concepts in the separate practical video. Okay. So the program execution begins with the first statement of the main segment, that is the top level statement that I have told you earlier. The first statement of the top level statements will be the first to run. Okay. Comments are ignored by the interpreter. Okay. You have studied in class 11 the comments. The comments are ignored by interpreter. They are not executed at all. Okay. So the function definition written above the main segment are read but ignored until called. Okay. The definition that are at the beginning of the program, that is read by the interpreter but are not executed, because that will be executed when it will be called. Okay. So they are read but not executed. The execution starts from the first statement of main part. Python just executes the header line to determine that it is proper function header and skips the function body. It will just read the first line, that is having colon sign. It will read it, it will check it is okay. If the syntax is okay, it will jump to the next definition. It will not read the function body. Okay. When a function call is encountered, when you call that function, the execution frame for the called function is created, a separate memory space is created, and your program control, that means your interpreter, jumps from this particular memory space to that space where that function will be executed. Suppose you are studying in a room, your mom calls you for dinner, you go from your study room to dining room. Similarly, when Python is executing a program, you call a function, that Python control will jump from that particular memory to the next memory created for executing that function. Can you relate it? I think you can. Okay. Within the function execution frame, Python first jumps to the function header line and then to the first line of function body and starts executing it. Okay. When you go to the dining hall, you sit there, okay, on the dining table, and you have that plate in front of you, and you start with the first thing that you should do. Okay, if there are chapatis and sabji in front of you, start with holding the chapati first, then you will dip it into the vegetable bowl and then you will eat it. Similarly, when the Python control jumps from current memory location to the memory location of function, it goes to the function header where the function definition is starting. You know the function header. Okay, it goes to the function header and it reads it and just starts the execution from the first line followed by it. The body of the function is started execution. Okay, so you start eating when you go to the dining hall. Similarly, when a function call is made, the Python interpreter jumps to a particular separate memory location and it starts executing the function body. Okay. A function execution ends with a return statement or the last statement of the body, whichever occurs earlier. So how you can get back from the dining hall after you have completed your food, or if you do not like the food? There are two conditions. If you do not like the food, mom has made the vegetable that you do not like in the dinner, so you will leave it and come back to your study room and start studying. Similarly, or if you have finished with your food, then you will wash your hands and come back. The same situation is with Python also. If it has completed its execution of that function, then it will again come back from where it left. Or if it is not able to run that function anymore further, or a condition has arrived that it is not suitable to move forward, then again it can come back. And that condition is with the return statement. You just write return, that means go back. You will come back. Similarly, the Python also comes back when it encounters a return statement. If your mom says go back, so you will go back to your study room. Similarly, when you give the command of return to the Python interpreter, it goes back to where it came from. Or otherwise, it will complete all the steps, all the statements that it has to execute. Okay. Now, if the called function returns a value, the control will jump back to the function call statement and completes the statement. Okay. If you have some urgent work and you are presented with the sweet dish at the end, what you say? You say that I will eat it while reading. Okay. So similarly, and you take that sweet dish bowl with you and come to the study room. Similarly, in Python also, if you are returning, if you are giving something back, so that Python interpreter will return to its previous memory space with that value, and that value will be processed as required. That we have studied how that value is processed, that we have studied earlier in the previous video. You can go back and see it. So this is how the function is executed. Okay. If the function is not returning any value, the control will jump back to the line following the function statement. Suppose you are doing something, you are solving a maths query. Okay, you are in at line number 5 when you are solving the query, and your mom called for you for the dinner. You completed your dinner and you come back, and then you start from the line number 6 when you left. Similarly, if the Python interpreter was working on line number 5 and you gave him a call command to execute the function, that interpreter will jump to the memory location of the function. It will execute all the things and it will come back, and then it will go to line number 6. Okay, so you can correlate. All these computer things are related to our daily life. So I have taken this example to make you clear how the function works. You are a function. Everything we do is function. Our hands are separate, our legs are separate, eyes are separate, everything is separate. Okay, so they are placed separately to perform. Our mind give them orders and they just do that thing, and after doing that thing they come back and tell our mind that we have completed that thing. Similarly is that Python interpreter. You give it a order to execute that function. It will go there, it will execute it, and it will come back. It may come back with some value, it may not come back with some value. Okay, I think this is clear to you. Good. Now the next thing we have arguments and parameters. Actually both these words are synonyms, but there is a bit of difference in Python. Okay, the value being passed through a function call that you put in the parenthesis during the function call are called arguments or actual argument. Those are called actual argument because they are being passed actually. So those are called actual arguments. Again, let me tell you, the values that you pass in the function call are called arguments or actual arguments. But the values received in the function definition are called parameters or formal parameters. When you give that value in the function call, what will happen? It will jump to a separate execution frame and those values will be copied there. So the original ones that you passed are called actual arguments or simple arguments, and when they are copied to that execution frame, those are called parameters or formal parameters. Okay, but actually both these names are used simultaneously. You can use arguments or parameters, but there will be a question: what is the difference between actual arguments and formal arguments? Okay, this will be a question and you have to give the answer with example. So what are actual arguments? The actual arguments are those are passed in the function call are called actual arguments, and the names that are mentioned in the function header, okay, or the names that receive those actual arguments are called formal arguments or formal parameters. Okay, so in Python those arguments can be literals, variables or expression. Literals, constants. Variables means the value whose value varies, that is called variable. Then expression means a combination of values. Just example, x plus y. Okay, what is literal? You have studied in class 11th, string literal, integer literal. So literal means a constant. It can be 1, 2, 3, 3.5. Those are constant. These are literals. Variables are x, y, z, a, b, c that you use. And expression is the combination of them. X plus 1, 2 plus 3. So these are called expression. But the parameters in Python have to be some names. Okay. The parameters means the names that are mentioned in the function header. They cannot be expression. You cannot write def square x plus y. You must write def square x. Okay. The expression cannot be used in as parameters in the function definition. Okay. Expressions can be used in arguments, that is in the function call. You can pass 3 plus 5 in square function, but you can not write def square x plus y in the definition. You can use it in call. How you can call it? You can call it like the square in brackets 2 plus 5. It will add 2 plus 5, 7, and it will generate the square and give you back. But you cannot write an expression in the function definition. Okay. Please try to understand the concepts. If you are not able to understand, please run this video again and run it as per your learning speed, and you will be able to learn all these concepts. You will be able to grasp all these points as we have discussed a live example with you, the example that is related to your day-to-day life. Okay. So in this session we have come to the arguments and parameters, and in this session and the next session we will be discussing with the types of arguments. That is a very important lesson. You must have a full concentration while you start that video lesson, and before it you must go through these 2 lessons of functions so that you are clear with all the basic concepts. And don't worry, we will be having a separate practical video lessons to deal with all your practical problems. Okay, so I will see you in the next video.